Nearly 7 in 100 people in the U.S. experience PTSD, but not all of them are veterans. Coming up, the signs you should look out for and what you can do if you think you need help.
Welcome back, everyone. A really serious topic this morning. After going through a dangerous or shocking situation, it's normal to be fearful. If those feelings stick around months after that event or initial incident, you might have PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder. So we have a couple of guests to talk about this morning because according to the National Institute of Mental Health, about 7% of the U.S. population will develop PTSD at some point in their lives. It's even more common for our veterans. So Luke is here. He's a U.S. Army and Desert Storm veteran and also the Director of Veteran Services for the Brain Injury Alliance of Arizona. We also have Travis, who is a veteran advocate and author of Uncomfortably Numb, a grunt's perspective on suicide. So we just first have to say thank you both for your service, and we really appreciate you being here talking about something that affects so many veterans and so many people in our community. So first off, I'll start with you, Luke. Tell me a little bit about the Alliance and what you do here in our community. So we are a statewide nonprofit. We are celebrating 40 years. We work with veterans and civilians from all aspects of life, and our goal is to educate and assist those individuals that have sustained a brain injury and may also suffer from post-traumatic stress with the next phase of their life. What are some of the signs and symptoms we should be watching out for? You want to look at, lack of sleep. If someone's easily startled, anger, those are just a few of those things we want to look at. That hypervigilance as well as isolation. Travis, you wrote a book about some of your experiences. Why was it important for you to put your life and your experiences out there for other veterans and other people to read?
Well, the military service is, by nature, you have a lot of brotherhood, a lot of friends, a lot of close working together. So when I started writing that stuff after I got out of the military, the first thing I wrote it for was so I could write it down and try to make sense out of it. And over the years after that, people began to tell me, hey, you need to share your story. You need to be able to be the person that will tell somebody, hey, this is okay for you to feel this way. These things happen to you. You can feel the way you feel about them. Now let's talk about that. So what the book does for me is it has that conversation with more people than I can have it with. I'm only one person. But by an example, I could say, hey, you know what? These things affected me this way. I can stand forth and other people will see it and they'll say, you know what? I feel that way too.
At what point did you know, I need to write this stuff down? I need to write my experiences down?
It was after the war when I was running up and down the road in the 90s. The VA had turned us out. We didn't get treatment. We had our conditions that we were dealing with, and I started thinking, did this really happen? Is this how it went? Is this what it means to be after the military? So I started writing these things down, and I'm glad that I did. Because like Luke said, when you can't sleep, you have chronic stress, it's very difficult to remember things. So you start writing this stuff down so that you can say one day, hey, yes, this did happen, and this is how it happened.
Is it difficult to ask for help?
Yes. I think because of the stigma that goes with, I have post-traumatic stress. I was in combat. I have to ask for help. That goes back to that greater sum of, our position when we're in the military is to defend our country, things of that nature. So we are really honed to be invincible. And then when all of that goes away, right, and you're back in this civilian life, which is really foreign to you now, you're like, okay, should I ask for help? And the answer to that is yes. Because there are agencies out there, there are people out there. Travis and I, even though we work in different areas, we will stop what we're doing to grab a veteran and work with a veteran and make sure that their six is covered.
I think that initial step, that asking for help, can be so extremely challenging, and it's so important for people to know, of course, that there always are resources out there. And you guys kind of have a special connection, correct?
Yes.
You kind of tell me a little bit about that story between the two of you.
Well, Luke and I actually served in 2 of the same units at the same time and didn't know each other.
Wow.
So he was in aviation and I was in infantry. And of course, a lot of the aviation is to support the infantry. So I always thank him for the ride, and he thanks me for not throwing up in his chopper.
Yeah, it was actually very fortuitous. Somebody said, hey, you should meet this Travis Burns guy. He's pretty squared away, and he can really help you as you build out this program at the Brain Injury Alliance to support Arizona's veterans. I was like, oh, all right, I'll check him out. And then somebody else like, hey, and then somebody's like, hey, Travis, you should meet this guy at the Brain Injury Alliance. So then we find out we were in Korea, the 2nd Infantry Division together. We were at Fort Campbell, 101st Airborne together. We were in Desert Storm together. And his unit at the 101st, my aviation battalion supported his unit.
Wow.
And it took us like 35 plus years before we actually met. So.
And here you are helping so many veterans that we are so thankful for and that we know need the help. So real quick before we go, if someone's looking for more resources, is there somewhere where they can find maybe a website or a phone number or something along those lines?
Yep. If they want to, they can reach out to the Brain Injury Alliance of Arizona, BIAAZ.org. They can do info@BIAAZ.org, and those emails will come direct to me. I would also recommend that they, talk to their rep at the VA, let them know that, they are struggling. Travis and I do a lot of work with the VA. I do a lot of work with VAs across the state, and things have gotten much, much better.
Oh, that's good to hear. Okay. Well, thank you both, and thank you both so much for your service. We're so thankful for you.
Thank you for having us today.